Hello everyone! I was finally able to get this Switch 2, and while I liked a lot of things about the new console, there is one thing that I find severely lacking, and it's the Joy-Cons 2. At first glance, they look like a major improvement over the first generation. The SL and SR buttons are bigger, the release mechanism is smooth and precise, and the new analog sticks is bigger and better. Actually, the new analog sticks are the biggest upgrade on the Joy-Con 2. The tension is around 40 grams force, which is my favorite value for a tension in a controller. It is very soft to move around, and it always snaps back to the center perfectly. Definitely softer than the Switch 2 Pro controller, which has around 60 grams force. The sticks on the Joy-Con 2 feel smooth, but it doesn't have the internal restriction mechanism of the Switch 2 Pro controller. The new size is also a major improvement, and although I didn't try with my unit, I found out that the stick itself is removable. On the first Joy-Con, when moving the stick around, you can feel that it tends to snap to the 8 directions, like it has an invisible octagonal gate inside. It's hard to show that in the video, but you can hear it snapping through the sound it makes. On the Joy-Con 2, the stick won't snap to anything. But the biggest downgrade was in the ergonomics. The first Joy-Con, although small, fits perfectly in your hands, and the position of the right stick is not the best ever, but it is usable. On the Joy-Con 2, the right stick is now even lower than before, resulting in a very awkward grip when trying to use it. In this comparison picture, you can see how the angle of your thumb is much worse than before. So I often end up lowering my grip to be able to use the stick properly. And by doing so, the shutter buttons and triggers are now harder to press. With the Switch 2 Joy-Con, they tried to mimic the ergonomics of the Wii U gamepad. But the Wii U gamepad is much larger, and the buttons and the stick are placed in an angle, and the ergonomics of the gamepad is much better. Speaking about the SL and SR buttons, they are much bigger now, and this is a very welcome change, because now those can actually be used as shortcut buttons. And even better, you can set the shortcut on the left Joy-Con to buttons on the right Joy-Cons, and vice versa. And when I heard about the mouse mode in the Joy-Cons, I picked up the Switch 1 Joy-Con to test it out, and it looked pretty promising. All of the buttons were easy to access, and the Joy-Con was small enough to fit on the palm of your hand. And not only that, but your wrist also touches the table with the Joy-Con 1. This is the exact ergonomics of a real mouse. But with the shape of the Joy-Con 2, things are a bit different. If you touch your wrist on the table, you won't be able to access all of the 4 buttons. You can access the analog stick and the B button. The A, Y, and X buttons are very uncomfortable to press. This is mostly thanks to the increased size. Notice how it touches the palm of my hand here. In order to reach all of the buttons, you must lift your wrist from the table, and this makes using the mouse mode much less comfortable than I thought it would be. And that small size difference completely breaks the use of the mouse mode for me. You see, a big part of the precision of a mouse comes from being able to move it with your fingers. And to be able to do that, it is very important that the mouse will not touch the palm of your hand during the movement. But the Joy-Con 2 is almost always touching the palm of your hand, and making these small movements is nearly impossible. This won't happen with the Joy-Con 1 because it is much smaller. Also, when used alone on a table, the Joy-Con wiggles a bit. To fix that, you should use the Joy-Con strap. It makes the base of the Joy-Cons larger. But there's another problem. The strap also gets in the way when using the Joy-Con in the mouse mode. A simple solution for that will be allowing you to use the strap the other way around. But unfortunately, the strap only fits in one way. Another big problem is that my Joy-Cons came with the dreaded unresponsive clicks on the triggers. And it's a shame because the Joy-Cons of my Switch one after years of use are working flawlessly. And not only that, the left Joy-Con has a squeaky trigger. The performance of the mouse mode though is excellent. It is precise and very responsive. But the game needs to have proper implementation of the mouse mode. On Apex Legends, while I move the mouse around, you will notice that the aim goes slightly up. This happens because the gyro sensors are active while using the Joy-Cons in the mouse mode. And when you lift the mouse to reposition it, the gyro sensors will nudge your aim up. Thankfully, it has an option where you can disable the gyro and use the mouse mode only. But then, when using this mode, the analog sticks becomes unusable. Also, the button mapping on the mouse mode is completely wrong. But again, thanks to the remap function, you can fix that.
Let's explore the contact with hostile.
There's also a mouse acceleration feature that's pretty useful. When enabled, small movements are still precise. But when you make fast movements with your wrist, the sensitivity goes up. The motion sensors on the Joy-Con 2 is much better, as you can see on these tests made by the channel GVG. The centering is much more stable on rotation and wider movements. The Switch 2 Joy-Con grip though is a downgrade. It looks nearly identical to the Joy-Con 1 grip. But you can notice the difference now. The first grip had better ergonomics thanks to the rail system. The Joy-Con slide from the top, allowing a nearly perfect fit. But since the Joy-Cons are now magnetic, it must be inserted from the side, leaving this big hole here. Also, with the included grip, you won't have access to shortcut buttons, unless you pay extra for the special grip. The first grip was very easy to scratch, and the same thing still applies to the second grip. Even your fingernails can scratch it. The magnetic grip of the Joy-Cons are pretty strong. Your Switch 2 won't fall if you hold it from the side, but on the Switch 1, you could press the release button and it still wouldn't fall. With the Switch 2, the position and shape of the release buttons makes it very dangerous for accidental presses. Whenever you want to hold the console with just one hand, your fingers naturally try to get a better hold of the console. And if you're not careful with that and press these buttons just slightly, a terrible accident can happen. The Joy-Cons can now be inserted the other way around, and they will work just fine. But when turned upside down, the console won't rotate the screen. So this is a useless feature for now. And honestly, the only advantage of this is having the headphone jack coming from below. And finally, the vibration motors is improved. It can reproduce more detailed sensations now, but it's not on par with a DualSense controller yet. It's just a step below. And finally, the Joycon 2 analog sticks still uses potentiometers instead of Hall effect sensors, which means that these are still prone to stick drift in the future. In the end, to me, the Joycon 2 is a big letdown, especially after testing the Pro Controller 2, which is amazing in my opinion. And I think that once again, a third-party company will have to step in and create a better Joy-Con than the original. And that's it for this video. Leave your opinions about the Joy-Con 2 in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.